Ladies and gentlemen, Peter, I can't see my best support in Slovenia, from Slovenia to European agriculture. Peter has disappeared. Once again, dear friends, it's an honor to be here in your beautiful Portorožu. And this is not my first time here, but then when I came in late last night, or actually this morning, it was a pleasure to hear the waves and feel the warmth of the Mediterranean, Adriatic Sea, and also hope that that warmth would generate some added value to Slovenian agriculture. And there's very good reason for me to say that. The sheer fact that so many of you have come here today is a sign of commitment to your own cooperative movement, and that gives me also motivation in our work in working for your organization. My name is Pekka Pesonen. I'm Secretary General of European Farmers and Agri-Cooperatives organization Copa-Cogeca. Cogeca is our cooperative wing. And in our ranks, we combine the farming community interest vis-à-vis European EU institutions and make sure that your voice is heard when it comes to European Union decision-making. Increasingly, this work is also becoming international. And in fact, in a couple of weeks' time, I will be taking part in a World Farmers Organization meeting in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and a part of that meeting will be also very much linked with the cooperative movement, how cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives, indeed have to be taken on board in the decision making. I come from a long line of Finnish farmers. My native Finland, where I come from, a dairy farm, and I talk to some of you that are involved with the dairying. I can tell you that 35 years of my life has been devoted to milk and dairy cows and how that should be successful. I certainly feel some of the pressures that you have at the moment in that particular sector. I will take you through some of the main items that I feel that are of importance when we take a look into the common agricultural policy framework. I'm not going to go to the details because the next speaker is better qualified, and I'm afraid she will also be able to talk specifically the elements that you're interested. I will give you some overview on how cooperatives can and should respond to the future challenges in the coming years. I will just explain briefly what the cooperatives are, then recent policy developments and how they affect us, and how we go forward in the future of our sector. We have at the moment approximately 13 million farmers, 12 million to be precise at the moment. And this is more than tenfold the number of farmers, for instance, in the United States. And as you know, we are negotiating with the US on a free trade agreement. These farmers have organized themselves into approximately 38,000 agricultural cooperatives that, roughly speaking, process and trade with 50% of the volumes in total. The other 50% is processed and marketed by private enterprises like multinationals, but also small enterprises. Food sector, agri-food sector in the European Union is the biggest single employer. We employ approximately 40 million people in the whole of the Union. In farming, in input industries, retail, processing, family members of farmers and so forth. So this is what the Commission keeps telling us. Agri-food sector is the biggest economic sector of the Union, bigger than chemical industry, bigger than automobile industry. So we have to get credit for that. We have at the moment 31 national cooperative organizations that represent you from Slovenia, a cooperative organization, like from other member states, our cooperative interest. We have approximately 660,000 employees amongst our ranks, and that means that we are one of the biggest industrial sectors in the Union. Our turnover is 360 billion euro. These numbers are quite big, but so is the agricultural interest big enough to be taken into account at European level. This is a figure that shows what are the market shares amongst cooperatives in the Union. And as you see, Slovenia is a very good group. You approach almost 50% of the market share, I think here. And this is a good sign for you and for us. Of course, I hope that the next figure that I show that you will pass my native Finland. You have somewhere to go. But please do. And I think you have good means and good opportunities to do that. But just simply, this reflects the situation at the moment. And this reflects the willingness amongst farmers to organize themselves in a cooperative. We have some member states where cooperative movement is very weak. And I'm very sorry to say that the newer member states actually are, I should say, a bit of a trouble spot for us in this respect. There are, of course, natural reasons for that. There are historic reasons that the cooperative movement has been politically motivated in some member states. And now, it's 20 years ago, the regime's change, the system change actually created a change to that too. And therefore, the cooperatives haven't been seen as an element of economy. Once again, for instance, from Sweden, cooperative movement is very non-political. There's no political orientation whatsoever. It's only a business arrangement. It's another form of business. We have a huge diversity in Europe when it comes to cooperatives. You could say that in the north you have single-purpose, bigger cooperatives, and in the south you have more diverse local regional cooperatives working on several sectors. These adapt to the local conditions. We can't say that one model is better than the other. They all have their own justification. But there is a certain degree of need for concentration. We need to become bigger, not because we love bigger forms of bigger business, but because the bigger cooperative and bigger farmers-owned and controlled cooperative would have more to say, especially in the food chain. We are aiming for modernizing European agriculture. And once again, this is not that we politically want to do something. We need to make our sector viable in the eyes of newcomers. I have high respect for your experience, and I'm 50 years old myself, but I'm already looking at the next generation on my own farm. Will any of my three kids take over the farm? Will they make it work as a farm? And those young people, when we try to get them on board, they need to have something else to convince them that agriculture is a way of life. We need to make sure that agricultural economy is in good shape to justify their involvement with agriculture. And it's about their future. If I see some young people here, and I have to say that I hope that your life and your living standards would be better than mine. We have to believe that the future will hold better prospects for our young. And that's why as Copa-Cogeca, we have said frequently that we need to put more emphasis on young farmers and how they could prepare for that future. And in particular, investment and innovation, being competitive, is of importance. it's about fair standard of living for farmers. And if we don't work for that, what are we there for? And if we don't secure that, I haven't done the work for you. When it comes to the CAP, I think it's relevant to say that for the first time ever, the CAP recognized the important role of cooperatives and especially producer organizations in, let's say, setting up a cooperative. And this is most welcome in our eyes. We would like to see farmers' joint action to take more role in the common agricultural policy so that farmers can defend their own interest at the marketplace. We have producer organization concept now covering all sectors, and we have also extended the rules to standard contracts and marketing standards so that the producer organizations can actually better work for their members. And they can, in certain cases, collectively negotiate on behalf of their members, especially in areas of olive oil, beef, cereals, and other arable crops. And especially when we talk about beef, can I ask you, those of you who are beef producers or involved with beef, can you raise your hand? Good. You know that beef is not very, let's say, successful economically. We have lots of trouble. And this is a very good indication that we could use some of these elements to enhance beef sector. And you know that if we have a trade agreement with US, we really need to have that. We need to have all tools available. And also, for the first time, if there's an imbalance in the marketplace, in certain cases the Commission can give an opportunity to producer organizations to defend themselves. This is really important for our future work. In the rural development, which is the so-called second pillar, the second part of the CAP package, in addition to direct payment and market management, the Commission has outlined, with full support of the Parliament and the Council, 25 measures to promote cooperatives and producer organizations. It also promotes higher support if you have a collective action. And this is also very welcome because it is efficient use of your resources, and we certainly should promote that. Also, when it comes to competitiveness, I would like to point out the element of the competitiveness here. This is really important for us, and especially knowing that forestry sector is an important sector in Slovenia. We were disappointed that the competitiveness factor wasn't fully taken on board for forestry. I'm a forest owner myself, which is no surprise in Finland. And in this respect, it's a major shortcomings of the reform package that forestry sector is not fully supported by the CAP framework, especially in rural development. Then you know that we are talking about how food chain works. And I believe that also in your country, you have especially foreign food chains that operate on the basis of all too often supply from other countries. You know also, like your Prime Minister said, that Slovenians are interested in local food, regional food, and that how they would know how the food is being produced. This is really important, that those farmers that produce that local food or local services can also negotiate with those traders so that they have to listen to the local producers of food whenever they make their decisions on the product range. That's why we are very happy to see that at least certain elements have been now discussed in the European Union when it comes to better functioning food chain. We are not yet there. We need to have ideally some legal assistance at European level so that Slovenian government and Slovenian producers can act upon European Union legislation in defense of their interest in the food supply chain. It's not yet there. We need to work on that in the next European Parliament and in the next Commission. But then again, we have to keep in mind that it is the retail sector that actually represents more than 90% of our volumes. We sell through the supermarkets. At European level, this is by far the real fact that we have to work together with our retail sector to make it work. Then I would like to point out some elements that you may find interesting. We have some member states that are very strong in cooperative movement. And Denmark is Denmark is the best. They have relatively small number of cooperatives, but look at the share turnover per member in millions. In Denmark, every cooperative member generates turnover to the extent of 336,000 euro. Imagine that turnover. Imagine yourself being a member of a Danish cooperative. I would say that you have a good chance to get a slice of that turnover to your bank account for your agricultural income. Whereas in the other extreme, if you have 1,000 euro from Greece, would it make that much difference even if you got all that 1,000 euro? So this is why we say that the cooperative movement has to increase its size, it has to improve its business, and it has to become stronger. I'm a member of forestry cooperative in Finland. I'm a very happy member of cooperative, also a member of a cooperative bank, insurance, and when we had agricultural activity, half a dozen other cooperatives. And most of them are big, and they generate fairly substantial turnover. So this makes sense for farmers, but it requires hard work. And that's why you need to support your own organization and the cooperatives in agricultural business in doing that. Of course, we have to keep in mind that we have some member states where you have huge number of cooperatives, so they are very local, so you can't completely use this as an indication, the turnover figures. But it's a good sign that even those the local cooperatives, for instance in Greece, should join forces together in defense of their local and regional products. Here we have 10 biggest cooperatives, and as you see, most of them actually come from the Netherlands and Germany. Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark, basically. And I think the first French in vivo is at the level of 8th point. And this is, by the way, my own Metsäliitto is a Finnish forestry cooperative to which I sold my timber only last year. And so this is a good illustration that farmers have done quite a lot. We are not yet there. The work continues. And we would like to encourage also Slovenian cooperative sector to take a look into how this should be done in Slovenia. You don't have to copy-paste, and please don't copy-paste what has been happening here. You have to do that in a way that fits Slovenian agriculture needs. It may be that this is not the way forward for you, that you go for the multinational cooperatives. Perhaps it doesn't work here. But you have to take a look into how you become stronger. And I think this is the common denominator. When we talk about a cooperative role, it's very much, once again, in relation of the market. You know that those biggest retailers have gone global. Tesco works in, I think, 30, 40 countries now. And I don't know whether it's in Slovenia. But if not, most probably at some stage they will come. I think Lidl is here. Lidl is one of the big European retailers. And it's also in my native Finland, for instance. So for us, it would make a lot of difference if Lidl would have to listen to you and to my Finnish or Swedish or German producers when they make up their product range. Increasingly also, for the second point, we have to make sure that we are aiming for growth and development. Like I said, European agri-food sector is the biggest economic sector. There cannot be economic positive development if agri-food sector is not involved. We have to make sure that we are there driving the growth. We have biomass, we have expertise, we have motivated young people. We have to make sure that the investment assistance is there and the research agenda is applied on agriculture. And of course related sectors like aquaculture or fish farming and forestry. Cooperatives are very important in this respect because the farmers usually concentrate on their own production, how to do things better at the farm level. Cooperative helps them to market and process their raw material and their produce. And this is simple. This has been there for 140 years for Slovenian cooperative movement. This fact doesn't change. It's still there very much in a way that it was there in the very beginning. It's very important to concentrate supply so that those small-scale farmers that exist in Slovenia but other member states too are actually listened to when you go to the supermarkets to negotiate prices. We organize on a regular basis events where we discuss amongst our presidents and possibly with our business representatives how to go forward in the particular sector. And I know that dairy sector is of importance for you, and quite recently we organized a Copa-Cogeca business forum where we discussed particular elements affecting dairy sector. And I know the sensitive nature of the current situation in Slovenia. Milk quotas will most likely disappear in 1 year's time. How are we going to make sure that after that disappearance, there is still a future for those Slovenian dairy producers producing good quality raw material? We have also worked in promotion of innovation, and this year we will award, hopefully for the third time, a cooperative award for innovation. This will be presented in December this year. So if you have something that you wanted to showcase, I would be very happy to take into account your application for this award. This year we have pointed out that we have 4 categories: food processes, non-food processes, bioeconomy, and entrepreneurship. This tries to promote economic growth, economic performance. I would like to conclude by going through some of the main elements that I hope are very much the same also here in Slovenia. One and most important factor is that cooperatives are very resilient. They stay in business despite the times, even if they're hard. Even if we have difficulties in the marketplace, the cooperatives can survive. We see cooperative movement as another form of enterprise, which needs to have a level playing field. We need to have the same access to finances. We need to have the same access to market. We need to have the same legal protection like any other form of enterprise. I worked for 7 years for Finnish dairy cooperative Valio, and I can tell you that it was not the case. All too often, farmer-owned businesses were treated unfairly, like you don't represent farmers, or you are too big, or you are too small, and we are going to kick you around. We cannot accept this. The farmer-controlled, farmer-owned businesses, cooperatives, need to be given the credit that they deserve. We need to increase our size. Unfortunately, we are in business where size matters. And if Slovenian cooperatives are not big enough vis-à-vis your market, so that you can actually say that if you don't accept my request for the price, I will not deliver those goods for you. So you have to be credible in this respect. And I know that you have been working really hard on that, and I certainly wish you all success in making it happen. We need to invest not only in growth in general, but we have to make sure that we have innovative tools available, and we bring new generations also by, let's say, making sure that they will get better returns from the marketplace. We have to make sure that the food supply chain will perform better, And like I said, we are still working on that. I would like to conclude by saying that we are very happy that the CAP had a continuation. Only in 2009 there were quite a lot of talks where people said in Brussels and in some member states that we are going to scrap, we are going to eliminate the whole CAP. This didn't happen. We have to give credit to your MEPs, to your commissioner, in a sense that, well, your commissioner is a controversial figure when it comes to agriculture, but then at least he has tried to make it work. And in this respect, I'm quite optimistic for the future of European agriculture. I know that we can perform. We have to do our homework in relation to the CAP, and we have to make sure that cooperative sector serves its purpose to do exactly that. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm certainly interested in responding to your questions later if there are any. Thank you.